Welcome back. Now, if you guys haven't seen it, there is a first part of this video. Check that out. We have now reached the 1990s, and let me set the decade for you. The NWA was finishing their run, revolutionizing music with gangster rap. Eminem would become the first successful white rapper, opening the door for guys like Post Malone later on.
Just let it slip. Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already.
The pop era was still in full swing as Michael Jackson's Black and White was dominating the charts. Rock and roll had changed in the 90s as well, as Aerosmith's I Don't Want to Miss a Thing would tear apart the charts for months. Britney Spears' Hit Me Baby One More Time would also dominate the 1990s. We also got to see greatest sequels, always legendary Terminator 2. It was also the Attitude Era and Monday Night Wars of professional wrestling, which gave us gems like this. Also, the 90s were a time of individuality, where it was about being yourself regardless of what other people thought. It also saw the rise of the internet and the rise of the PlayStation, as the first PlayStation would come out in 1993. We would also see the invention of multiplayer games with games like Unreal Tournament and Quake Arena. And the inevitable groundwork was laid for later consoles like the Xbox and the 2000s. The time from 1993 to 2003 was truly a unique era in US history, but it was also an era of insane college football, and there was no doubt the most dominant team during this period from 1993 to 2003 was Florida State. This was the era where Florida State finally got over. As we covered in the earlier parts, Florida State had gotten close to winning several national championships from 1987 to 1992. But 93 was different. 1993 was special. Florida State opened the 1993 season by rolling off 8 straight wins. Notable victories during this period included victories over Clemson, Miami, and Virginia. Florida State would drop a game on a last-minute dropped touchdown pass to Notre Dame on November 13th, the only loss the Seminoles would have of the entire season.
Gadget that Bowden has in his tricks. This would be the time. Three seconds to go. National title on the line for Florida State. It's also there for Notre Dame. It's within the grasp of either ball club.
Florida State would get back on track, beating NC State and Florida, and head to the first BCS National Championship game against Nebraska to determine who would win the national championship. Now, in this particular instance, there was actually some debate about whether the winner of this game deserved to be national champion or the Notre Dame Fighting Irish should be, as this was the first ever BCS national title game. Plus, Auburn was suspended due to paying players, so the team was not allowed to play in the BCS national title game, even though Auburn was undefeated. If not for that suspension, likely Auburn would have played Florida State in this game, because even though the Seminoles were 11-1 and Nebraska was 11-0, Florida State was ranked number 1 and Nebraska was ranked number 2, because the BCS gave Florida State a lot more respect, because the BCS was all about strength of schedule. The computer took into account strength of schedule, and Florida State had played 6 ranked teams that year, including 7th ranked Florida and 3rd ranked Miami. So the Seminoles were ranked number 1, so they would would have been playing Auburn. Instead, Florida State would play Nebraska in the first official BCS National Championship game on January 4th, 1994. This was also the final year for Florida State great quarterback Charlie Ward, who also had claimed the Heisman in the 1993 season. As a matter of fact, Charlie Ward, during his time at Florida State, would claim an All-American, ACC Player of the Year in 1993, 2 ACC Players of the Year in 92 and 93, ACC Athlete of the Year in 93 and 94, Sports News Player of the Year in 1993, would be inducted into Florida State's Hall of Fame. He would have his number 17 jersey retired, and he would also take home the Maxwell Award in 93 and the Heisman Trophy in 93. Charlie Ward was a truly excellent quarterback for the Seminoles.
Catching runners from behind, that's not something that the Nebraska defense could do in previous seasons. Two wide receivers. They're showing blitz. Nebraska again. And Ward, they pick up the blitz and Ward to the end zone, no one there. There goes McCorvey being checked on the far side by Toby Wright. Here's Bentley. He has missed from 47 yards to the left. Danny Tunnell, backup quarterback to hold. It's a 34-yard attempt into the wind. And it is good. Florida State on the board first at the midpoint of the second quarter. All right, O.J., a yard gain on that play, 2nd and 9. That is a whole lot. Damon Benning, a sophomore from Omaha, who played for Jones when he was injured earlier this year. Frazier goes into a problem. He goes on the deflection to Reggie Ball. Touchdown, Nebraska. Reggie Ball, a sophomore from William Floyd and Roy Dunn behind, now joined by Ward. Looking for Dunn on this side, gets away again. To the sidelines, and that could almost have been grounding, intentionally grounding the ball, but he threw it into a Nebraska player, so this will be a 24-yard attempt. Cannell, the second-string quarterback, the holder, it should be a fake, but it's Bentley driving it through to make it a one-point game. 2 field goals by Florida State in this first half. Officially 25 yards. That's over Glenn Summers. Ward on top and going long. Caught at the 5-yard line by Kevin Knox. Quick level here on the goal line. Ward will keep it himself. Floyd loses the ball and Nebraska recovers. Was he yet? No, they say touchdown. He broke in the play. Mike Anderson fell on the ball, but like to do blitz. And Ward throws in the end zone and no catch. He was out of the field of play. That's McCorvey, and again, the radar instincts of the receivers to Ward's throws. They just seem to be able to get to the right place, don't they? Yes. You have to expect he's a pretty good three-point shooter, although he doesn't do that much for Florida State as a basketball player. Dante Jones hoping this isn't good. Boy, that was close. That knee was almost out. He was juggling just a little that denied the catch. So here comes Bentley for his 4th field goal try. This one from 39 yards. And he hits this a ton. Bentley, who had only 2 from over 30 all season, has 2 tonight. And the Seminoles up their lead at 15-7. But at 15-7 lead, Dick, that's certainly still within reach of Nebraska. Again, Florida State moves the ball down the field, in part courtesy of a big penalty to Nebraska. And as Bentley boots it through, the fans here learn that West Virginia, unbeaten, playing in the Sugar Bowl, trailing 28-7 to Florida. Bobby Bowden, who has had in this 60th Federal Express Orange Bowl, Florida State down 7-6 at the half, scoring all of the points in the third quarter to take an 8-point lead. But Nebraska driving their deepest position inside the 20-yard line. And Tony Frazier sets it up at the 13. Here to Phillips, and the freshman has a touchdown! Officially 2 yards, and Phillips, who is the quickest and fastest of the talented core of tailbacks or I-backs at Nebraska. Phillips 3 carries and 29 yards and 1 touchdown. And for the third I-back, the Calvin Jones on the sidelines. What's the call here? Buster Johnson in motion. Frazier.
He had a man open in the end zone, but didn't throw it. Knocked out of bounds at the run by Ken Alexander. Not only in offense, but in defense. And that combination moving them to the top rung on the national bowls, but lead by only 2 as Nebraska has marched 73 yards in 7 convincing plays, the final 12 by Lawrence Phillips. And with 14:55 left, with protection intercepted, picked off by Richard Coles. And the Nebraska Cornhuskers, big underdogs within 2 with 4.5 left. It may be his chance. Would that happen? But Bowden has lost national championship in his own Pickers nest to be beaten by the field goal. Frazier, keeper. 35 has blocked. There's one man to beat at the 20. He's at the 10 to the 9. And a flag down as the tackle made.
Enchiladas here.
Phillips. His fumble was recovered by Zach Rieger. Otherwise, Florida State would have the ball. And it's Phillips who gets the handoff. And down he goes with the loss. John Nance, that nose guard.
I noticed too that Florida State now has put into the lineup one of their receivers, Kevin Knox, in here to try to block the field goal attempt. I'm not.
It's Muller. Scotty Bowden's way.
Especially not on that.
That is now up for Charlie Ward, the collegiate hero, the Heisman Award winner, the leader of this Florida State team that many regard the best in the nation, to rally his team out of the pressure of time for a victory over a group from Nebraska that would make any fan of the underdog pleased tonight. But he has 3 sacks so far tonight. Ward throws it up over the head of his receiver. And Ward down in the backfield. The leader has gotten loose and they throw to him. He's dangerous in the open field and he's slung up to get out of bounds at the 43-yard line. That's 2 from outside the 3 with 2 this evening. Knocked away by Tyrone Williams, intended for Kevin Knox, and that'll bring up 4th and a long 1.
The scrimmage there for Nebraska, big.
And they wind it up, and Florida State used only 3 or 4 seconds. Now Ward in the open field to Dunn. Anderson can't get him, and Dunn is out of bounds, and a flag goes down. That's the personal foul.
Good ball. Personal foul. Take it out of bounds.
So that moves Florida State with 45 seconds into Yes. And throws almost a touchdown to Kes McCorvey, who had a left hand. I don't think Bobby wants it to the good side of the field goal. He didn't trust those things. Going toward the end zone, and has the flag interference. 15 yards against Toby Wright. And the give is to Sean Jackson. Jackson has not been able to clear the line of scrimmage much all night long.
The slow chip you win is the most difficult.
Now Notre Dame, of course, they are saying they beat Florida State. They squeaked out against a tough Texas A&M team to win the Cotton Bowl today. If Florida State wins narrowly, you'll hear some justifiable campaigning by the Irish. There's the AP top 5 coming in. Auburn, of course, on probation and eligible for the national title. So it really is a possible turnover. And if Nebraska ever had a blocked field goal play, this is the time.
Absolutely it is.
3 for 4 tonight by Bentley, who was on the college football preview issue, the cover board, choosing late to go to Florida State over Notre Dame for just this. He's got it. The 27-yard field goal by Bennett, 16-15, and then Florida State battles down, and they kick the 22-yard, only to have Frazier make that long pass, and now 45 yards to steal it from Florida State and to get Cinderella, Nebraska a tremendous win in the national championship. And he hooked it left. Florida State wins.
Sealing Florida State's first national championship in school history. It also marked the end of an era in which Florida State had been unbelievably great. From 1997 to 1993, the Seminoles had 6 chances to win national championships. The majority of those seasons ended on missed field goals either in the regular season against eventual national champions, or on missed field goals in critical moments in bowl games. Bobby Bowden had been tormented by his field goal kickers, but in '93, with everything on the line, the field goal finally sailed through. This was a huge moment for head coach Bobby Bowden, because any true fan of a sport knows if you don't win a championship when you're very successful, it becomes an albatross hanging around your neck. I mean, how many times was Peyton Manning heavily criticized in spite of all of his great numbers because he just couldn't beat Tom Brady? Well, Bobby Bowden had finally got his national championship, and heading into the 1994 season, there were hopes, as there always seems to be with the Seminoles, that the Seminoles would repeat as national champions. Florida State would then head on October 8th at 7:30 on ESPN to Miami. The Orange Bowl was a terrifying place to play in the 80s and 90s. Miami once set the all-time college football record for wins in the Orange Bowl with 58. Florida State was number 2, but just recently Clemson passed Florida State for consecutive home wins. The Hurricanes were probably the most intimidating home team to play. Florida State desperately needed this win, as Miami was likely to be the most likely team to win a national championship that year, not named Florida State. Unfortunately for the Seminoles, this game wasn't overly close. Miami pants Florida State 34-21. Following the loss to rival Miami, Florida State would head to rival Clemson and get a victory before beating Duke, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, and NC State to end the year. So 1994 was also the year of one of the most memorable Florida State games of all time. Actually, maybe the most memorable game in this entire rivalry. This was the year of the choke in the Doak.
Off the penalty, half the distance, first and goal, the fake of the inside handoff. Cannell's going to run for the touchdown. Touchdown, Florida State. There we are. 5:25 to go. It was 31-3, and now the Noles are right back in it with 5 minutes and 25 seconds to go, and Bentley kicking off for Florida State. Jack Jackson has been quiet in the second half. 2 touchdown catches in the first half. It's Taylor to midfield. Couple of yards. Just blocker too, Brent. Second down and 13, and Werfel on the release. Colsey diving grab at the 40, interception. Seminoles ball. He's the running back who missed a year with that knee injury, and for Cannell, finding Dunn, crosses midfield, breaks free, out of bounds at the 23-yard line. It was the same as the Charlie Ward play a year ago. Complete to the 15-yard line with 3:20 to go. This pressure on without the huddle. Inside of 3 minutes, 31-24. Noles digging uphill. Clock is stopped. And Seminoles are perhaps authoring one of their greatest comebacks ever. They were down 31-3 with 15 minutes to go. They trail it by only a touchdown. Looking for a score on their 4th straight possession. Crockett bangs inside the 10-yard line. Now Cannell. Firing complete to the 4-yard line.
Excellent catch by McCorsey. Back behind him like that, that's tough.
Now they need 2 yards for the first down. See on that far side, that first down marker? This is 3rd down and 2. Bringing the clock down. Bobby Bowden must also determine right away if he goes for 1 in the tie because of this great comeback, or 2 in the victory. The staff has to make it up against the blitz. Touchdown, Florida State! Rock Preston, who created a great opportunity for the Gators with a costly fumble in the early going, scores the touchdown, and now it's Bowden's decision. And he sends Mowry onto the field right away.
This is not a lock. He has missed 2 extra points this year.
Danny Cannell is the holder. You don't suppose.
No, he's always the holder.
But you don't think, would he? No, Maui ties it, 145.
Bobby Bowden would find himself being criticized later in his career for not attempting to win the game by going for 2, which in hindsight would have been the right decision. Florida State would not play for the national title in the 1994 season because they had a loss to Miami and a tie to Florida. If they had gone for 2 and gotten it, it's likely the Seminoles would have gone to the 2nd straight national championship game. But in any case, and because the universe loves irony, Florida State would head to the Sugar Bowl in the 1994 season to play Florida. That's right, the 2 teams would play again only about 10 days later. Florida State would beat Florida in the Sugar Bowl 23-17. Florida State would finish the 1994 season at 5-4 respectively. 1995 started with much the same expectations. Florida State again was predicted to be in the national championship game. The Seminoles again would start their season in dominant fashion, rolling off 7 consecutive victories to start the year. Florida State would be ranked in every one of these games number 1. Florida State's notable victories over this era was a complete crushing of Clemson and NC State, as well as one of the most one-sided beatings the Seminoles have ever handed to the Hurricanes, 41-17. Florida State would also start their pantsing of ACC teams in this era, as they would crush Wake Forest 72-13. Bobby Bowden wasn't one with a lot of mercy. A big surprise, though, would occur the week after a 42-10 victory over Georgia Tech. The Seminoles would head to Charlotte to play number 24th ranked Virginia. Florida State was 2 at this point as they had slid down in the rankings. It shows even in this era, the ranking system was fucking stupid. How do you slide down in the rankings from 1 to 2 after winning every one of your games by more than 25 points, and a lot of them by more than 50 points? But either way, it happened. Florida State slid down in the ratings before heading to play Virginia. Unfortunately for the Seminoles, on ESPN, in front of the entire nation, Florida State would lose to Virginia, 33-28. This would be Florida State's first loss on the season, and given the fact Virginia was only ranked 24th, this meant that Florida State would plummet down to all the way to number 6 the next week when they play North Carolina. The Seminoles would get back on track, however, absolutely and utterly devastating North Carolina and Maryland. This put Florida State back into the national championship picture before headed to the Swamp to play number 3 Florida. Unfortunately, Florida State would drop the game to the Gators, eliminating Bobby Bowden's quest to get a national championship out of the season. However, hilarious for us Seminole fans, the University of Florida would go to the national championship that year and be absolutely and completely dismantled by Nebraska. Nebraska would claim the national championship in the 1995 season in absolute dominance, crushing Florida 62-24. Meanwhile, Florida State would head to the Orange Bowl to play 6th-ranked Notre Dame. Bobby Bowden and his Seminoles would get a victory over 6th-ranked Notre Dame, 31-26. Now, Florida State had gone halfway through the 1990s decade. The 95 season marked the midway point. In this period, Florida State had claimed every ACC title the school was eligible for. Florida State had played in a New Year's Six game every year during the 1990s but one. Florida State had absolutely dominated the ACC since joining it, with absolutely devastating victories over conference rivals like Wake Forest, crushing Clemson most of the time. The reality is the only thing that was stopping Florida State in this 5-year period from winning almost all of the national championships was the fact that they struggled against Florida and Miami, who were equally as good during this period. This 5-year period represented probably up to this point the best 5 years for Florida State. You see, if you watched the earlier video, you know Florida State was actually pretty successful pretty quickly. It didn't actually take a very long time for Florida State to become successful. However, Florida State was never really the national powerhouse or national name they would eventually become. And the process of the ESPN writers kind of snubbing Florida State, which they still do today, was something that never seemed to go away. In spite of Florida State's success in the early Bobby years, success with guys like Tom Nugent and Billy Peterson, Florida State had always been the snub team. Florida used to refer to Florida State as the little brother, and Miami used to refer to us in the same way. The idea was that Florida State was a second-tier Florida school, and for the most part, them being an independent, while the big brother Florida was in the SEC, meant that Florida got far more coverage. However, from 1990 to 1995, the area we've covered so far, Florida State had made a statement in which even the extremely cynical ESPN talking heads could not ignore. The Seminoles had dominated the era in a way few teams ever have, winning nearly all of their games during this era and a national championship, as well as having a chance to win 4 others. The Seminoles had made it clear to everyone. They are not a little brother, they are not to be taken lightly, and you better pay fucking attention to us. This was the statement Florida State wanted to make, and this is Bobby Bowden's true contribution to Florida State. Without Bobby, Florida State likely would have always been just another good team. Think Michigan State. A good football team that every now and then competes for a national title, but never really is seen as a superpower. Bobby Bowden made a damn statement. You will respect us. And if you don't, we're going to come to your house, beat the shit out of you, and take your shit. That was the statement Bobby Bowden made to all of college football from 1990 to 95, but anybody who wasn't getting that point was about to get kicked in their damn face and have their shit taken, because 1996 to 2000, Florida State was the Alabama of college football, and there was no way anybody wasn't respecting the Noles after this. In the 1996 season, Florida State would win every single regular season game, rolling off 11 straight victories. Notable wins here included a victory over 6th-ranked Miami, 34-16, a victory over ranked North Carolina and Virginia Tech teams, and a 3-point win over number 1 Florida at home. However, because college football is a stupid sport, and SEC biasm is not a new thing, in 1996, Florida State would play Florida in the national championship game. Now, this was a bullshit outcome because Florida had just lost, and Arizona State and Ohio State. Arizona State was undefeated, and Ohio State also had only a single loss. Florida State should have played Arizona State or Ohio State in the national championship game, but because college football is a dumb sport and SEC biasm is a very true thing, Florida, in spite of just losing to the Seminoles, got to play Florida State in the national championship game. Now, Florida would absolutely dominate Florida State in the national championship game, winning 52-20, which seems to exonerate the decision to put them in this game. But if you know anything about football, you know the second time you play a team is substantially more difficult. It's likely if Florida State was put against the Buckeyes or Arizona State, the Noles would have won a national championship in the 1997 season, which would have eliminated the 1996 national championship Florida actually has. Whether you agree with the decision to put Florida back in this game or not, it shows a symptom of a problem that has never gone away, and that is a disgusting level of Southeastern Conference biasm. This is where it started. This is the first year where you have a team that just lost a game playing in a national title game over a team with a perfect record and a team with the same record. And they weren't small teams either, because you were looking at Arizona State, a Pac-12 team, and the Buckeyes. Now Ohio State gets nearly as much bias towards them as the SEC, and it would have been Ohio State, Florida State in this national championship had it been more recent. There's no way that they would have snubbed the Buckeyes, but they did, and Florida State lost to Florida. Now, we're not going to try to take anything away from Florida. They won their first national championship, and it's likely they were the best team in the country because that game just wasn't relatively close. And they only lost to Florida State in Tallahassee on a field goal. Either way, Florida State would finish the season ranked 3rd. And there will always be questions about what if or what could have been or maybe what should have been. Now, this mid-90s era is where the deep-seated permanent hatred between the University of Florida and Florida State and Florida State fans started to be built. Before that, you might have called this a friendly, familial rivalry. But after this next few years, Florida and Florida State developed a bitter hatred that will never go away. To start the 1997 season, the Noles again would just dominate, rolling off 9 straight victories. Notable wins in this period included a victory at USC 14-7, a victory over rival Clemson 35-28, absolute decimation of the Miami Hurricanes 47-0, and a victory over 5th-ranked North Carolina 20-3. On November 22nd, Florida State would head to play those goddamn Gators at Florida. And further solidifying the hatred between the two teams, 10th-ranked Florida would win 32-29, as home field advantage seems to have been the difference in this game in the 96 and 97 season. This loss would eliminate Florida State from playing for the national championship in the 1997 season. Instead, the national championship game would be contested between Michigan and Nebraska, a game that Michigan would win to claim the national championship. The Noles would play Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl to end the season, getting Bobby Bowden another great bowl victory over another historic college football program. These were the games that were building this Florida State legacy. These were the games that were proving Florida State was not to be taken lightly. Victories this season over USC and now Ohio State. The Noles won pretty easy, 31-14, and would start the 1998 season at number 2 in the country. Florida State would open the year with a victory over a ranked Texas A&M opponent before losing to hated rival North Carolina State 24-7, before rolling off 10 straight victories, including victories over USC and the Doak by 20, Georgia Tech, Virginia, and of course a victory over those fucking Gators at home 23-12. Florida State had finally got the stinking Gator monkey off our back, and we got to end Florida's chance to win a national championship that season. Miami had continued to be mediocre through most of this point in the 90s and was unranked when Florida State beat them at home. Florida State would head to their second national championship game in the 1998 season, where they would play the Tennessee Volunteers.
We've got 2 of the best field goal kickers in the nation here.
Benson Scott holding. It's a 24-yard try. It's good. And there's a flag. There's a flag. Dexter Jackson came flying in, and
Coach, it's like the offense is coming back on the field.
Does, doesn't it?
Personal foul. Roughing the kicker. The penalty is accepted. Field goal is taken off the board. It's an automatic first down for Tennessee.
Martin passes away. Passes far. It's touchdown. Strong place from the fullback. So first down from the 49 as Warwick goes in motion. They've managed to handle Peter so far tonight. Outson puts it over there. And that's picked up. And that's going to be 6. It's Wayne Goodrich. Touchdown. Second down and 8. Down the middle. Intercepted. Gibson out of bounds. Just short of the goal line. Derek Gibson. Well, they keep that same alignment with 2 fullbacks there. Glenn's lined up on the other side. Hand it back inside. Ball's loose.
I think he fumbled it.
Loose. Nope. Man over here on this side says it's a touchdown. Been a ton of laundry on the 2. He pops it. It's partially blocked and hits the crossbar and is no good.
That's dead ball.
It's a dead ball. To the end zone, no. Incomplete, intended for Warwick.
Just take a shot, line up Peter outside, give him a shot by throwing him the ball. He just couldn't make the play.
34 yards, they call it. This one's on its way, and there's plenty of leg. And it is good. So, some fireworks. T. Martin has been put on the ground 11 times tonight. Not as many times as usual when you're playing Florida State. That ball going down the sidelines is caught. Here's Price. It's touchdown. There are no flags. It's blocked. The extra point try is blocked. It's 20-9. Tennessee is in the lead, and we should have understood the symbol. Remember, I told you this is Chiricahua country. When that moon came up behind that mountain a little while ago, it was orange.
It was orange,
wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Stevens will get down for a yard or so. Brian Allen on that time. 23-yard field goal try. Boy, this is big. Good. But not that much. Florida State. I mean, the Noles really went after it to get themselves in shape. Outson's pass down the middle. He's got Dugans, and he's got some room. And he's down inside the 10, down to about the 7-yard line before he is. Got a hole up the middle for Outson. Touchdown.
Mark was in the end zone.
Point's good.
Dented here tonight. I think you kick it deep.
There you go. The other way. It didn't go. Did it go?
And they got the ball.
Janikowski, the kicker, went down and covered it.
Tennessee was ready. They had their good hands team up there. It looked good to me. It went 10 yards. The other Seminoles went ahead of him to block the receiving team. It went 10 yards. It didn't touch anybody.
Touched the ball before it went 10 yards. The result of the play is to accept it at the spot of touching. First down.
Didn't think so. Well, Martin throws. It's completed. It's a first down to Sean Bryson out of the backfield. All the way down to the 10. He stepped out of bounds on the 11.
Ball game there. Nice call.
Florida State would fall just short of winning a national championship in the 1989 season. This was Bobby Bowden's fourth trip to a national championship game between 1980 and 1998. This was also another top 5 finish for the Seminoles, and it was continuing the truly dominant era for Florida State of the 1990s. As a matter of fact, it was pretty much just Florida teams during this era. If there was a playoff in this era, it would have likely almost always been 2 or 3 Florida teams making up the Final Four. The state of Florida owned college football in this era. Now, over this period, Bobby Bowden had accomplished a lot. He had won every conference championship he ever qualified for. He had won a national championship. He had played in 4 national championships. He had only had one season in this 8-year period where he had more than one loss in the regular season. His dominance seemed complete, but for Bobby, there was always something missing.
On his desk, he had a frame with no picture. He says, for the first undefeated team I have.
Bobby Bowden had never had a perfect season. Bobby Bowden's teams had never finished perfect. They had a chance in the 1987 season, but due to bullshit SEC bias, they lost to a team they had already beat a few weeks before. In 1999, all of that would finally change. For the first time in Bobby Bowden's career and the first time in school history, Florida State would have an undefeated season. The Seminoles' dominance through the 99 season would see them crush almost every opponent the Noles played. This included dominant victories over Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Miami, and a 7-point win over third-ranked Florida. Florida State would head to the Sugar Bowl to play the human cheat code that was Michael Vick.
Championship. Everybody in the country is going to see you play. Let's do it, dog. Let's do it, dog.
Second down and 11. Deflected. Andrews shows blitz. Coming after him, and he's in trouble. From the gun. Incomplete, misfiring veteran. Over the middle, high. At the pump fake. Looking home run again. Hello, Mr. Warwick. In a foot race. Hello, end zone. Noles strike. Hunter. But this team can really front run. They got it. Scooped up back, touchdown! Play fake from Dick. The floater downfield, and look at Andre Davis, and he underthrew it. Second down and 10. It's a tough night. Now stiff, hard-hitting running back. In trouble. You cannot cut back against this defense. There's another
face mask on the defense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. We'll repeat second down.
Complete.
Two safeties trying to match up.
Minor, and it is red. Third down and 3. Winky gun. Got Dugan's breaks free. They won't catch him, I don't believe. A defender with the angle. Can't get there. Too fast. Dugan's. 63 yards. Vick buys time. Fires high. Tipped. Incomplete. And Virginia. And so he rushes this one. That sometimes happens after a block punt. One hop. Warwick says, let's go. And alley. 40-yard line. In a race. Won't catch him. Hello, end zone. Now, come back. Pads of popping in New Orleans. And a penalty flag flying. A free play. The Noles were offside, and Vick makes the most of it. With the speed, he breaks free. Got an angle. Vick pushed out of bounds by Ty Kendrick. And he option. Vick going to keep it for the end zone. Touchdown. Swing deflected away.
It's a lateral.
Corey Moore. Rinky swings it out to Minor. Minor in a foot race, breaks out.
Oh my goodness.
They let Minor out. Fires complete. Davis.
Time so far in this game.
Here's number 18 coming up. Late pitch, no he didn't. And Kendrick dashes for the first down across. Comes in motion. Play fake. Vick rolling hard. Needs to avoid the sack. Beats the tackler. Back to the middle. Incomplete. There was a short drop. Backside pressure. Steps back and gets away from it. Oh, he's Houdini. He's absolutely. Here comes Charlatan. Cuts free. The heat was there. And the Hokies with. Vick's going to throw back. He threw high. Caught by the fullback Hawkins. Hawkins all alone down the sideline and pushed out of bounds. Straight ahead. Shy of the 10-yard mark. Instead, Kendrick. Attacking, picks it up in trouble. Rattley's coming from behind and he dashes away from him. How does he do it? And an official is hit hard. The field judge goes. And win. Here's the Hokies, 3 points closer. Michael dances off to the right off his own lineman. Now going to fire downfield. Incomplete at the goal line. Should look. Vick going to keep it short of the first down. The pitch. Kendrick. First down. End zone ahead. Touchdown Hokies. 29 yards. Vick fake the handoff. Loose, incomplete. So the 2-point conversion. Michael Vick tripped as he pulled away from the center, so it will be. Now Michael Vick on a pump fake, comes firing the screen to the fullback. First down, out of bounds inside the 40-yard line as Cullen Hawkins dances to the right to the 36-yard line. Vick dashing back. Here he comes again. Electrifying. First down at the 20-yard line. Trouble now. And he'll go down on the busted play at the 29 with Jamal Reynolds. For Vick, he keeps it, dashes upfield, 15, 10. Near the 5-yard line, it is first and goal. Steps to the middle, touchdown! Hokies lead it. Hokies lead it on the 6-yard run. Trailing 28-7. They come. Fires and knocked away. Gibson comes up to make it.
Imagine, Brent, if it didn't work, we'd have eased it.
Jeff Chaney out of Lake Wales, Florida, still battling his way like he did against Florida. He was a, oh no. Off the hand of freshman Bowden, slips, goes nowhere, third down.
Right side.
They go, end zone, touchdown, Dugans.
Perfect call.
Ron Dugans, the senior from the Deuce. Got it. Warwick. The run juggled out of Davis's hand. Couldn't hold on.
Shovel pass. Kendrick
For the first down. Derek gives it takeoff on a quarterback draw. Fumble! Noles! Florida State football inside the 35-yard line. Out to the right with a quick first step. Breaks free. Out of bounds. Inside the 10-yard line. Kendra leads him. And he stops at the 10-yard line. Couple steps away from Moore, and now Winky throws it away in the middle of the field.
No one there.
Set the screen. Chaney in trouble. Penalty flag. Maybe that was his last field goal for Florida State. Remember, he's going to turn professional. And Vic tried to dance for it. He's pounded with Corey Simon, the All-American.
Cuts upfield, perfect play to the outside that time. Hits it, goes as far as he can, and doesn't get it.
7:52 to go. Winky going deep. Warwick's all alone. Penalty flags down. Touchdown, Florida State.
To give the Noles a 46-29 victory, completing Florida State's first perfect season. The Noles would claim their second national championship in school history and would get the one remaining monkey off Bobby Bowden's back. Florida State now had a perfect season to complete this absolute decade of dominance. The 1999 season was the peak of Bobby Bowden's time at Florida State. It was the culmination of all of the hard work he had done since being hired in the 1976 season. Bobby Bowden had taken over a team in 1976 that had struggled to be successful the 3 years prior to him going there. He had a rough start and fell down a little bit in the middle, but now he had built a juggernaut, a team that had played in its fifth national championship during the 90s, a team that had won 2 national championships during the 90s and probably should have won 2 more. A team that was so dominant over this era, they were named the team of the decade. Now the 1990s are finished and we are done for this week. Now it'll be the week after next that the next and last part of this video comes out. I hope you guys have enjoyed it so far. If you've missed it, the first part is up on the channel already. Also, I have videos covering the rise and fall of Jimbo Fisher, the rise and fall of the Florida State program. Both of those videos will be referenced in the final part of this video, so if you guys haven't watched those yet, check them out. I appreciate all you guys making it through the video. hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Come back in 2 weeks to watch the final part of the evolution of Florida State football. Thank you guys, and as always, this is a damn nerd signing out.